Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and I've got this Doodle Bloom set and their matching dies from Altenew, and today I'm going to be making a floral watercolour window card. So I'm going to start by getting my flowers all stamped out, and I am going to heat emboss them in white so you're not going to see too much to begin with. And I've got my Versamark ink and a piece of watercolour cardstock. And one little trick that you can use when you can't see exactly where you're stamping when you're using the Versamark ink is to actually add your powder to the stamped images along the way. And you don't have to actually heat emboss it until the end. It doesn't make much difference. You can actually heat emboss them all at the same time. So once I'd heat embossed all my flowers, then I can get on with the colouring. And I'm going to be using my Altenew crisp inks to do the colouring. And I've got two colours, a ruby red and coral berry, and these are a water-based dye ink, so they're a great medium to use as a watercolour. So I'm adding them directly to my clear block, and then to use them as a watercolour I can simply just pick them up with my brush. So I'll just show you how I painted each flower. I did play around with them a little bit, and I found that this looked the nicest is when I added the water to the actual petals themselves. I used clean water. Well, this is cleanish water. It is a little bit pink stained now, but then I just picked up the ruby red colour and let that drop near the centre of the petal, because this is a slightly darker colour, and that just dragged the water in the petal, just dragged it out to the edges of the petal, and then I could use the coral berry on the very edges of the petal. So I let these dry naturally. I didn't want to heat them again because I had the white heat embossed flower and I didn't want to ruin the embossing that I'd already done. So once I'd coloured all my flowers, I just set this aside to dry. So I'm going to be doing some die cutting now, and I've got a stitched rectangle die, and this is a panel of white cardstock. It's just cut a little bit smaller than my card front. And I'm also using one of the leaf dies from the Doodle Bloom set, and rather than use another piece of paper I thought I might as well just die cut it at the same time. And then now that my flowers are dry, I'm just working out which way my die needs to face, and then I can just run all these through my die cutting machine. So I'm actually moulding my flowers a little bit because I wanted some dimension, and just being gentle, and the watercolour paper tolerated this really well. To work out where I want to put them on my card base, I simply just laid the panel on top and drew a really light pencil mark. And now I can start adhering my flowers down, and I've got some small, these are the small glue dots, and I find that these stick really well. So here I'm using my grid lines as well to help me with my placement. And in the end I just found it was heaps easier just to stick all my flowers down on the glue dots first. I was getting in a bit of a tangle before, and the watercolour paper is fairly soft, so I had to be quite gentle when I was peeling them away. Now I'm going to use a sentiment from the Sokotoa set, and I didn't want any black ink on this card, so I decided to use the coral berry. I thought that'd be really pretty. And if you haven't seen it already, there are a whole new set of inks from Altenew. It's so exciting. So I'm using my grid lines again to stamp this out, and these inks just stamp so beautifully. And for my leaf, I just wanted a real subtle effect, so I'm going to be using some liquid glue. This is a Tombow, just to adhere this directly to the panel front, and then I can just use my scissors to snip off the bits that just overhang over the edge. So I want to pop my panel up, and I've got my stamp runner, which is a nice strong dry adhesive, and then I can just stick some fun foam onto the back of this, Now this fun foam is 2 millimeters thick, and to me that just didn't seem like it was going to sit high enough. So a real easy fix is to actually add a second layer of fun foam. So that'll make it a total of 4 millimeters thick, which is nice and high and easy to do because I can just add my Tombow glue. I just find the stamp runner doesn't work really well on the fun foam itself. And I know that the Tombow glue will be a real strong hold. And then I can just add some Tombow to the back of the fun foam and adhere this whole panel to my card front. And for a final touch, I'm going to add some picket fence. These are distress stickles to the center of each of the flowers. It's a real subtle glitter. It's just something that you're going to see when you hold the card to the light. And that's my finished card for today. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back again real soon. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.